Have you ever spoken words that seem to carry a different weight, as if, by uttering them, an invisible current moves and the very air around you thickens with a power that transcends logic? There are certain phrases, certain prayers, that are not mere combinations of sounds. They are portals, codes, keys to something far greater than our immediate understanding. And among all the prayers that humanity has whispered, sung, or shouted, there is one that stands out, a timeless melody that resonates in the hearts of billions across millennia. The Lord's Prayer. It is not merely a religious text, a sequence of requests. It is much more than that. It is a cosmic map, a manual for spiritual ascension disguised as a simple prayer. But why is the Lord's Prayer so powerful? What is it about its words that makes it a beacon of hope, a catalyst for transformation for so many, across centuries and cultures? The answer lies not in blind faith or rigid dogma. The answer rests in its archetypal structure, in its ability to touch the deepest layers of our collective unconscious. It does not speak only to God. It speaks to the God within us. It is not a request from the outside in, but an alignment from the inside out. Imagine for a moment that each phrase of the Lord's Prayer is a step on a staircase leading from material density to spiritual subtlety. And as we climb each step, we do not ask for something new, but remember something ancient, something that has always been ours. For Jungian psychology, archetypes are universal patterns of thought, feeling, and behavior that reside in the collective unconscious of humanity. They shape our experiences, our dreams, our myths. The Lord's Prayer is an archetypal prayer par excellence. It evokes the archetype of the Divine Father, the creative and providing principle, but also the archetype of the prodigal son returning home, the spiritual warrior facing temptations, and the Redeemer seeking forgiveness and liberation. Regardless of your religion, belief, or lack thereof, these patterns resonate because they are intrinsic to the human experience. So, let us unravel, step by step, the hidden power behind each of its phrases, and in doing so, you may realize that your spiritual journey is intrinsically tied to every word you have uttered without truly understanding. The first movement begins with the most fundamental declaration. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. What does it mean to invoke a Father who is in heaven? This is not merely a geographical location. It is a location of consciousness. The Father is the unifying principle, the source of all that exists, the cosmic intelligence that orchestrates the universe. And heaven is not a distant place but a state of being, the dimension of pure consciousness, free from the limitations of the ego and time. Think of Egyptian mythology, of Ra, the sun god, the creator who gave rise to all things, or Osiris, the father and judge of the dead, representing order and resurrection, or the Hindu Brahman, the ultimate and transcendental reality of the universe, the essence of everything. All these divine archetypes point to the same idea. There is a primordial source, a consciousness that precedes and sustains all existence. To call this source our Father is to acknowledge our divine filiation, our intrinsic connection to the Creator. We are not isolated beings, lost in the cosmos. We are part of this divine dance, consciousness manifesting itself. Hallowed be thy name. A name, in many ancient cultures, is not just a label. It is the essence of something, its vibration, its power. To hallow the name of the Father is not merely to revere it, but to recognize the inherent sacredness of existence itself, of creation. It is to see the divine in everything. In the breeze that touches your skin, in a child's smile, in the complexity of a flower. It is a shift in perspective, from a mundane gaze to a sacred one. It is the realization that every atom, every moment, is a manifestation of the divine. Have you ever stopped to consider how you perceive the sacred in your daily life? Is it confined to temples and rituals, or can you see it in the ordinariness of the everyday? And how does this perception affect your own capacity to feel peace and purpose? The Lord's Prayer invites us to a profound reverence for life, for the intelligence that sustains it, and for our own divine spark. The second movement of the Lord's Prayer immerses us in a dimension of deep longings and existential choices. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. What is this kingdom? It is not an earthly empire of thrones and crowns. It is a state of consciousness, a vibration, an alignment. It is the kingdom of harmony, peace, abundance, and wisdom that exists when divine consciousness fully manifests in the material world. And to ask that it come to us is not to wait passively for something to fall from the sky, but to activate that reality within and without. Think of the quest for El Dorado or the Holy Grail. At their core, These legends are not about material treasures, but about the search for a state of perfection. Enlightenment, a reality where life is full and harmonious. The kingdom is the El Dorado of the soul, the grail that fills all void. It is the return to a primordial state of unity and wholeness, a paradise that is not out there but within, waiting to be met. And what does it mean? Thy will be done, on earth, as it is in heaven. This is the phrase that often generates the most resistance and misunderstanding. Many interpret it as passive resignation to fate, a blind surrender to something we do not understand. But the will of the Father is not a tyrannical whim. It is the natural order of the universe, the flow of life. It is the cosmic wisdom that orchestrates the movement of galaxies and the beating of your heart. To pray thy will be done is an act of profound trust in the process of life, recognizing that there is a greater intelligence at work, and aligning with it is the path to true freedom and prosperity. In Norse mythology, there is the concept of word, which is not a fixed fate, but a web of interconnections woven by every action and choice in the universe. It is the idea that we are part of a great tapestry, and our individual will intertwines with the greater will of the cosmos. Thus, thy will be done is an invitation to let go of the illusion of total control and surrender to the flow, allowing life to guide us to where we need to be, not necessarily where our limited mind wants to go. This surrender is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It is the courage to release the reins of the ego and trust in the wisdom of the self, our higher self. How many times have you fought against circumstances, exhausted, only to realize that your resistance was the true cause of your suffering? And how has accepting a seemingly adverse situation opened doors you never imagined? The Lord's Prayer invites us to dissolve the illusion of separation between the ego's desires and the soul's desires, between my plan and the divine plan. The third movement takes us to the heart of the human experience, need and interdependence. Give us this day our daily bread. Here, the prayer descends from the cosmic plane to the most tangible reality of our existence. The bread is not just material food. It is sustenance in all its forms. Health, love, security, purpose, joy. It is everything that sustains us, physically and spiritually, in the present moment. And to ask for it this day is a powerful affirmation of living in the now, of trusting that the universe will provide what we need at the perfect time. This phrase connects us with the archetype of the sustainer, the one who nurtures and provides, but it also reminds us of humility, of our dependence on something greater. We do not ask to hoard for tomorrow or to accumulate in excess. We ask for enough for today. This is a call to mindfulness, to full presence. It is liberation from anxiety about the future and regret for the past. It is the certainty that, in the present moment, you have everything you need, and if you don't, life will take care of providing it. In Buddhist philosophy, attachment is the root of suffering. Attachment to the past, to the future, to what we have, to what we want to have. The prayer for daily bread is a practice of detachment. It teaches us to trust and it frees us from the obsession with control, with accumulation, with the feeling that we need to secure tomorrow. It is a profound lesson about true abundance, which is not about having much, but about having enough and trusting in the flow of life. Have you noticed how your financial anxiety is often about a distant future? About scenarios that don't even exist? What would your life be like if you fully trusted that the daily bread will always be provided, no matter what happens? This is spiritual faith in its most practical form. It is the understanding that when you do your part and align with the flow, the universe takes care of the rest. The fourth movement takes us to the heart of forgiveness and reciprocity. And forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. This is perhaps the most challenging part of the prayer, as it confronts us with our own humanity, with our flaws and the flaws of others. The word debts here refers not only to financial debts, but to transgressions, resentments, hurts, and guilt we carry. It is an invitation to release the burden of the past. In depth psychology, forgiveness is not a favor done for another, but a gift given to oneself. Resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other to die. It traps us in a cycle of pain, bitterness, and stagnation. And when we speak of debts, we refer not only to those others owe us, but to those we owe ourselves. The guilt for past mistakes, self-condemnation, the inability to accept ourselves with our imperfections. Forgiving oneself is as crucial as forgiving others. Consider the story of Zacchaeus, the tax collector in the Bible. A wealthy man, but despised by his community for his greed. When Jesus calls him, Zacchaeus repents deeply and promises to repay fourfold what he had stolen and give half his possessions to the poor. His transformation did not come from punishment, but from an encounter with compassion and forgiveness. He was forgiven, and his response was to forgive himself and others through restitution. His external wealth, once tainted by guilt, became an instrument of healing and redemption. The Lord's Prayer reminds us that the flow of forgiveness is circular. We cannot ask for forgiveness if we are not willing to offer it. It is a universal law of action and reaction, of sowing and reaping. When you refuse to forgive, you become your own jailer. You block the flow of grace in your life, preventing new opportunities, healings, and blessings from reaching you. Lack of forgiveness creates an energetic barrier that affects not only your relationships but all areas of your life, including your prosperity and inner peace. Reflect for a moment. Is there a deep hurt, a resentment you still carry? And what would be the impact on your life if you chose to release that weight, truly forgiving yourself and others? This is one of the most powerful keys to spiritual transformation and liberation that the prayer offers. The fifth movement addresses protection and overcoming adversities. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. This part of the prayer is not a request to be spared from life's challenges, but to have the strength and wisdom to face them without straying from our spiritual path. The temptations are not just moral sins. They are distractions, fears, and illusions that pull us away from our true essence. In Greek mythology, Odysseus' journey is filled with temptations. The sirens that called him to death, Circe who turned him into a pig, the trials that diverted him from his path home. His ability to resist or overcome these temptations depended not only on his physical strength but on his cunning, his faith in his purpose, and the divine protection he eventually invoked. Temptations are tests, and evil is not an external entity but an internal force that pulls us toward ignorance, selfishness, and disconnection. To pray not to fall into temptation and to be delivered from evil is an acknowledgement of our human vulnerability, but also an affirmation of our desire for integrity and purity of intention. It is a call to our inner spiritual warrior, always vigilant against the forces that seek to lead us astray. It is a prayer for discernment, for clarity, so that we can see beyond illusions and choose the path of light. Have you ever felt tempted to give up on a dream, to succumb to a vice, or to take an easier but less authentic path? What gave you the strength to resist? The Lord's Prayer equips us with spiritual armor, connecting us with a source of strength that allows us to transcend temptations and evil, manifesting our true resilience. Finally, the archetypal conclusion of the Lord's Prayer, often omitted or recited without full understanding, but carrying the weight of the entire revelation. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. This is not just a final reverence. It is the perfect circularity of the prayer, a return to the source, an affirmation of the truth that was present from the first Our Father, who art in heaven. At the beginning, we asked for the kingdom to come. At the end, we affirm that the kingdom is already his, by extension, ours, because we are part of him. This is the great revelation. We are not asking for something that is missing, but recognizing a truth that has always existed. The kingdom, the power, and the glory are not something to be conquered, but a state of being to be remembered. They are our divine inheritance, our true nature. Think of the story of the Buddha, who, after years of searching and asceticism, sat under the Bodhi tree and, upon reaching enlightenment, did not gain anything new. He simply awakened to the reality that was always there, to his own Buddha nature. Enlightenment is not an acquisition but a removal of the veils of illusion. Glory is not external recognition but the radiance of your own essence when it manifests without restraint. The power referred to in the prayer is not domination but the intrinsic ability to manifest, to create, to shape your reality in alignment with the divine will. It is the power within each of us to be a co-creator of our own experience, to sculpt our lives with the raw material of the universe. And the glory is not vanity but the radiance of your inner light, the manifestation of your soul in its fullness, the recognition of the beauty and perfection that permeate all existence. This is the definitive conceptual shift. The Lord's Prayer is not a list of wishes for a distant supreme being. It is a guided meditation for remembering who you truly are. It is a reprogramming of your consciousness, aligning you with your innate power, with your ability to manifest abundance, peace, and purpose. Each phrase is a portal that leads you back to your own divinity. The answer to why is the Lord's Prayer so powerful lies in its ability to guide us back to unity, to wholeness. It pulls us out of the illusion of separation, lack, and powerlessness, and reconnects us with the inexhaustible source of everything. It is a mirror that reflects the God within you and invites you to live that truth in every breath. The final Amen is not a stopping point, but a so be it, a powerful affirmation of your acceptance and alignment with this universal truth. The Lord's Prayer is a code that, when deciphered and lived, frees your soul to manifest the kingdom, the power, and the glory, here and now, in your own life. Do not wait for enlightenment. Allow it to be your reality in every moment.